atmospheric levels. There are different current shears, temperature changes occurring. And when you're filing a bizarre, you want it to be damn accurate. So you wanted to build up a machine learning algorithm 30 years back. Now suddenly AI seems to have emerged out of nowhere as the single biggest threat to humanity, or the possibly the biggest gift humanity can have. Yeah. So you got to remember the world is changing, and here is a quick glimpse of what kind of shifts are happening in terms of technology. Okay.
Yeah, and in terms of other things, before Ajay gets the video, I'll tell you a very small thing. How many of you have heard about this term called molecular gastronomy? Does it ring a bell?
Oh. You're missing a big thing.
Alright. So, how many of you have flied international by Etihad? No? Okay. Perfect. Have you seen those plates that they give you, those meze platters that they give you with really, really small portions? So I happen to be in Taj and I happen to work with Etihad, and they were doing a molecular gastronomy project where in 80 grams you had to plate an entire dish. And, when I enter the kitchen and I'm like, how the hell is this going to happen? So I see a chef there with a Kazaki knife slicing a chicken into this smaller piece and then using a magnifying glass to plate it. And I'm like, boss, who the hell is going to eat that? And, the chef looks back at me and he says that, and this is for all the people who are saying their passion is money. He says, boss, you don't know what it costs.
Oh, there's a very famous story on that one, on airlines that did the same, which is about the fact, and I think this was about, I'm forgetting the name of the airline. The airline decided to take out an olive that they used to put in the salad, and I think it saved them some $30 million.
Yeah.
Just taking out one olive out of the salad, yeah.
And in fact, when we were working for bars, that was the time that, molecular cocktails came into being. And I was like, who's going to have a cocktail? Who's going to enjoy his vodka with jelly-filled balls, man? And then that idea just clicked, and people were, every second or every half an order that we got was a bloody molecular cocktail. I found the things pretty bizarre. I don't want gas coming out of my cocktail, man. It's so weird.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but huge impact. So here is a look. And this is a guy I'm a great fan of. This is a guy who's a futurist. Okay.
Information technology grows in an exponential manner. It's not linear. And our intuition is linear. When we walked through the savannah 1,000 years ago, we made linear predictions where that animal would be, and that worked fine. It's hardwired in our brains. But the pace of exponential growth is really what describes information technologies, and it's not just computation. There's a big difference between linear and exponential growth. If I take 30 steps linearly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I get to 30. If I take 30 steps exponentially, 2, 4, 8, 16, I get to 1 billion. It makes a huge difference. And that really describes information technology. When I was a student at MIT, we all shared one computer, took up a whole building. The computer in your cell phone today is 1 million times cheaper, 1 million times smaller, 1,000 times more powerful. That's a billion-fold increase in capability per dollar that we've actually experienced since I was a student. And we're going to do it again in the next 25 years. Information technology progresses through a series of S-curves where each one is a different paradigm. So people say, well, what's going to happen when Moore's Law comes to an end, which will happen around 2020? Well, then go to the next paradigm. And Moore's Law was not the first paradigm to bring exponential growth to computing. The exponential growth of computing started decades before Gordon Moore was even born. And it doesn't just apply to computation. It's really any technology where we can measure the underlying information properties. Here we have 49 famous computers. I put on a logarithmic graph. The logarithmic scale hides the scale of the increase because this represents trillions-fold increase since the 1890 census. In the 1950s, they were shrinking vacuum tubes, making them smaller and smaller. They finally hit a wall. They couldn't shrink the vacuum tube anymore and keep the vacuum, and that was the end of the shrinking vacuum tubes. But it was not the end of the exponential growth of computing. We went to the fourth paradigm, transistors, and finally integrated circuits. When that comes to an end, we'll go to the sixth paradigm, three-dimensional self-organizing molecular circuits. But what's even more amazing, really, than this fantastic scale of progress is look at how predictable this is. I mean, this went through thick and thin, through war and peace, through boom times and recessions. The Great Depression made not a dent in this exponential progression. We'll see the same thing in the economic recession we're having now. At least the exponential growth of information technology capability will continue unabated. And I just updated these graphs because I had them through 2002 in my book Singularities Near, and so we updated them so I could present it here to 2007. And I was asked, well, aren't you nervous? I mean, maybe it kind of didn't stay on this exponential progression. And I was a little nervous because maybe the data wouldn't be right, but I've done this now for 30 years and it has stayed on this exponential progression. Look at this graph here. You could buy one transistor for $1 in 1968. You can buy 500 million today, and they're actually better because they're faster. But look at how predictable this is. And I say this now not just overfitting to past data, but making these forward-looking predictions for about 30 years. And the cost of a transistor cycle, which is a measure of the price performance of electronics, comes down about every year. That's a 50% deflation rate. And it's also true of other examples like DNA data or brain data. But we more than make up for that. We actually ship more than twice as much of every form of information technology. We've had 18% growth in constant dollars in every form of information technology for the last half century, despite the fact that you get twice as much of it each year. Okay, this is a completely different example. This is not Moore's law. The amount of DNA data we've sequenced has doubled every year. The cost has come down by half every year, and this has been a smooth progression since the beginning of the Genome Project. And halfway through the project, skeptics said, well, this is not working out. I mean, you're halfway through the Genome Project and you finished 1% of the project. But that was really right on schedule, because if you double 1% 7 more times, which is exactly what happened, you get 100%, and the project was finished on time. Communication technologies, 50 different ways to measure this, the number of bits being moved around, size of the internet, but this has progressed at an exponential pace. This is deeply democratizing. I wrote over 20 years ago in the Age of Intelligent Machines, when the Soviet Union was going strong, that it would be swept away by this growth of decentralized communication. And we will have plenty of computation as we go through the 21st century to do things like simulate regions of the human brain, but where will we get the software? Some critics say, oh, well, software is stuck in the mud. But we are learning more and more about the human brain. Spatial resolution of brain scanning is doubling every year. The amount of data we're getting about the brain is doubling every year. And we're showing that we can actually turn this data into working models and simulations of brain regions. There's about 20 regions of the brain that have been modeled, simulated, and tested. The auditory cortex, regions of the visual cortex, cerebellum, where we do our skill formation, slices of the cerebral cortex, where we do our rational thinking. And all of this has fueled an increase, very smooth and predictable, of productivity. We've gone from $30 to $130 in constant dollars in the value of an average hour of human labor, fueled by this information technology. And we're all concerned about energy and the environment. Well, this is a logarithmic graph. This represents a smooth doubling every 2 years of the amount of solar energy we're creating, particularly as we're now applying nanotechnology, a form of information technology, to solar panels. And we're only 8 doublings away from it meeting 100% of our energy needs, and there's 10,000 times more sunlight than we need. And we ultimately will merge with this technology. It's already very close to us. When I was a student, it was across campus. Now it's in our pockets. What used to take up a building now fits in our pockets. What now fits in our pockets would fit in a blood cell in 25 years. And we will begin to actually deeply influence our health and our intelligence as we get closer and closer to this technology. And based on that, we are announcing here at TED and True TED tradition, Singularity University. It's a new university.
Yeah. So why do I like Ray Kurzweil? Yeah, Ray is a futurist, as I said. He now actually works for Google. Yeah, but I think what he's talking about is something you've got to keep in mind when you're looking at your entrepreneur. I guess, I can hazard a guess. Any of you looking at an entrepreneurial journey will look at technology as a base. Right? Not too far off. Yeah. Now, you got to remember that change acceleration is huge. And change is following an exponential, not a linear. So, things which we think will take a long time to happen will happen way, way faster. Right now, if you go back to what we were talking about, Mr. Gadkar, is this thing. I think, pretty much all the Nordic countries, Europe is talking about is 2025, 2030, you will shift. Now, I actually have a venture in the engineering skills area where we do something for BTech students. And I was at a session at a college in Indore on Tuesday, I think. And I was telling them, you're learning about powertrains and transmission and all of that. I was EV mein to hoga hi nahi na kuch. What knowledge is that going to be of use to you? So we've got to start thinking. I think what the biggest challenge that I see of these systems that we are brought up in is we think linearly. You at least have to have a radar. Now the beauty of it is, if you want to read more about how I came about reading about Ray and started kind of tracking him and following him, is his forecast that by 2045 man will become immortal. That's no joke. Because he talks about the gene sequencing. How many of you saw this movie called
In Time?
No. Transcendence. It's actually based on Ray's premise. Yeah, the only thing that I don't agree, so basically let me tell the logic behind it is, you have the gene sequence, you're already talking about designer babies, you're already printing organs. How many of you know about 3D printing? Not the mug kind of printing, but 3D printing or additive manufacturing as it is being called is going to be one of the biggest revolutions in manufacturing. So you'll be able to, manufacture anything you want.
The latest Mission Impossible series had that, where they're sitting in Dubai and he's trying to get that mask of that face of the guy. I mean, how many of you have seen the last part of it? That's 3D printing.
Yeah. So basically, what you go to YouTube and type Dr. Anthony Attila, and there is a video of Dr. Anthony Attila, and he's printing a kidney. They've been able to get to a fetal size kidney. Now, please remember, in organs, as far as the problem is not rejection. The problem is not availability of donors. That's surely a problem. But the bigger problem is rejection. Right? How many of you guys know of all these cryo labs that have come up? Any of you guys have cryogenic labs?
Yeah.
Yes. What they do is basically take the stem cell of a newborn and keep it at minus 173, simply because you're going to use those stem cells tomorrow to print organs. And because they come from your stem cells, there's going to be no rejection.
But aren't the stem cells themselves capable of generating an entire new organ?
But you have to trigger it, no?
Again, depends on where you
trigger
put it.
They can be changed into different.
So basically, it's a blueprint. So basically, let's say if you inject a stem cell into a kidney, it becomes a functional kidney.
You have to do the trigger. It's not as simple as that. You have to trigger these. Yeah, the blastocyte, which is actually the stem cell, has to get a specific instruction to either become a heart muscle, become a lung, or a kidney, or something. Yeah. Now, that's one element of it. To me, what is more exciting is that you'll be able to print organs which are you. So, no rejection. Yeah, because what happens in organ replacement today is the quality of life doesn't change and it's very expensive still. Right? But if you're going to print out of your own this thing, so basis some of these exponential curves, and the good part with Ray is that he's been doing it for a while, so you can go back and check, is it following the track or not? His theory is that by 2045, we will reach a point of immortality, which is what this movie talks about, because the only thing I have a differing opinion is, how do you transfer consciousness into magnetic media, which is what transcendence is all about? Because I don't think consciousness is messages between neural synapses. Yeah. That's the logic which the movie uses, which even Ray talks about. I don't buy that.
It's more of a chemical neural.
I don't think so. I would love to think it's something more esoteric, yeah. But any choice. So I think, please keep in mind, change is going to be very, very rapid. Whatever business you start off, don't think, oh, I've done it now. Yeah, something's going to come and hit you, and you won't even know where it's come from.
It's going to be a very sudden change, as that video said, that whatever you started in first year would be absolute by the fourth year. So, imagine this, that if you start wanting to start a business, it should go you should think that it should go live tomorrow. You can't say that, okay, I've started something now. Maybe when I pass out, maybe I'm done with 4 years of my work, I'm going to take this business live. Not going to happen. So we're going to do a very small activity if Ajay allows me.
No. Just give me another 10 minutes and I'm going to hand over to you to run the whole thing.
No, don't do that.
I just want to open your minds really, because, I think you've got to really think very differently. That's really what's very, very critical if you want to be an entrepreneur. Right? And all the other stuff about the sweat, toil, blah, 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 we talk about it. We talk about finance, we talk about stuff. But I think you've got to think differently. Yes.
if I want to learn something about nanotechnology, say, then where do I start? So if
दूसरे यार जाके YouTube उसमें चला
no,
जा
that's okay. Like I have the sources, but if I want to learn about nanotechnology, तो मुझे पूरा base पे जाना पड़ेगा ना. Like I have to
you'll
go
find all
50
that,
years back and then
you
start
will
studying.
find the
like
history
the
on
basics
Google,
of
you will
nanotechnology.
find everything on.
How it came into existence.
So that takes a lot of time. So
So-
like even I have my
Gaining information will take a lot of time. Trust me, when we were working on BFF, we saw everything from what has been the past of CVs to what can be the future of CVs, who are our competitors. As I said, gaining information is difficult. You would have to, burn the midnight
Yeah, I
oil.
disagree. Burn the midnight oil, yes, absolutely. It's very easy because it's all available.
But
Problem
you'll have to
finding.
read about it.
You have to have. So my point is very simple, bro. If you're the interest, ना time अपने आप निकल आएगा. और आपको जाके ABC नहीं सीखना पड़ेगा. आज की डेट में, there's a very interesting example about tangential again. A friend of mine was telling me that he went to a young guy. He went to his kid's school. Yeah, and he went to the list of the cribs he had. And one of the cribs was his child's handwriting was terrible. So he was very well prepared for the PTA. He goes and sits down in front of the teacher. He pulls out his list and one of the first things is handwriting he had for. So he turned around and asked him, Mr. Gambhir, when was the last time you actually used a pen? Other than for a signature. So you really need to teach them writing. Because they have to use conventional writing.
And
I'm not saying that's really what you should do.
honestly,
You should have
it's
good
hard
handwriting.
work. It's when it's passion, it's really hard work. So honestly, over the course of the last 1.5 years that we've been working on BFF, Ajay has been my best friend, and my alcohols have only been with him. So being from a corporate company, a lot of my friends call me and they're like, "यार तू रात को करता क्या है Friday nights? तो Friday night तो chill मारने के लिए होता है." I said, "मारो यार तुम लोग."
हम chill मारते हैं.
हम भी chill मारते हैं, लेकिन अपने तरीके से मारते हैं. We study.
He's making sure he paints him black, huh? दारूबाज, डांट के रखता है.
No, honestly, but yeah, you should contact Ajay for sessions. I mean, he will change your mind and open your mind, broaden your mind to a different level.
So let's look at the next step now. Yeah. So always keep your eyes, ears, every orifice open.
मैं सुनो ये आपकी इस thinking के लिए मैं कुछ कराना चाह रहा हूँ.
अच्छा,
Before you
मैं-
start this, it's very
Okay.
exciting.
Okay,
Trust
so
me.
go ahead.
Okay, so the only two people excluded out of this activity are you both, because I've done this with you both. So that smile on the face. Okay. Okay, guys. So I have a piece of paper. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Who's got the largest smartphone here? Bring it out. मेरा छोटा है.
so-
मैं पुराना फोन वाला हूँ यार. सबसे बड़ा स्मार्टफोन किसके पास है? निकालो. नहीं चोरी करने वाले यार.
He doesn't disappear. We don't do magic. You get your phone back.
कौन आ रहा है? Okay, guys. So hear me out very carefully. अजय आ रहे हो? हाँ, आ जाओ. Okay, so I want you guys, let Ajay come in. I want you guys to hear me out clearly. I want you guys to push the phone through this hole without tearing it any further. I want you to push the largest smartphone in this room through this hole without tearing it any further. That's your question. And I'm going to leave the paper here and I'm going to leave the phone here. Don't worry, you're going to get it back. And you could keep trying one. No, we're going to start from this side. Don't worry, everybody gets a chance. Everybody gets a fair chance. So let just Ajay come back and we'll get this activity done. My ear.
No, it's
Just
just
one
a
second.
guess. I don't know.
No, just come and tell me here. It has to be done. So you can tell me and then...
I'm actually pretty
No.
wrong about that. but-
No, don't start it now. Just tell me what we were thinking of doing. Sit. So you have an idea, come tell me. Don't speak it out loud. Just tell me in my ear. Way of the mark. Sit. Anybody else has any smart idea? Control your emotions. It's okay, Paul. Control your emotions. I've done this activity with you guys. Okay, so we were waiting for Ajay, so why don't you guys come and give it a try?
I can't increase the size of the hole
At all. You're gonna push the phone through the hole without increasing the size of the hole. Without tearing the hole. So Ajay's going to take a session on linear thinking and thinking from 0 to 1. So that's what this is going to test. And Ajay's session is going to become more interesting for us.
करो यार, कर नहीं रहे क्या?
Guys, come on. Who's?
like I'll do.
Okay, come on.
Sir, can you please repeat what?
Push the phone through the hole without tearing the hole any further.
Like it can be any hole or the hole in the paper.
The hole in the page. Okay, who's up? Who's up? The only two guys excluded in this room are those two because they have done this activity.
You and try it as well, yeah.
सिर्फ फोटो लेने के लिए नहीं बैठा है यार तू यहाँ पे.
You just have to push it. You don't have to pass it through it. You have to push it to the hole.
You're still not pushing it. You are touching the hole.
No.
I said push the phone through the hole. Push the phone through the hole. Push it through.
Phone through the hole. Or pushing the phone. Push the hole.
Just passing it. You're not pushing it through the hole still. Okay, who else wants to try it? No, it's not gone through the hole. You've broken the hole in half. The hole is not full.
The hole is still there and not increasing.
You're sliding it through it. You're not pushing it through it. Next.
If I'm not wrong. Maybe like.
No. Okay, guys. Who's
चलो यार
next?
कौन है next? वीर तुम बढ़े चलो.
Who's next? Come on. I said interactive class. Guys, come on. Second row. I'm seeing no one get up from there. No, Pearl can't do it because she's seen this activity. So, क्या क्लब बनाया तुम लोगों ने? रोज सेशन लेना पड़ेगा. तुम दोनों का लूंगा सबसे पहले तो. चलो, guys, come on. Try. Think, try. Ma'am, you wanted to do something now.
Oh yeah, it was the same.
Go ahead.
I think
Come.
something has
आ जाओ
already
यार.
done it.
हाथ मत उठाओ. आ जाओ
My
सामने आ जाओ.
idea was this, and that's wrong. So.
You're breaking the hole in half.
Yeah.
Perfect.
चलो अभी 2-3 और एक्सरसाइज ये कर ही रहे हैं ना.
वो वहाँ पेपर पड़ा है चार्ट है यहाँ पे ये
नहीं, I want to show it. So here is one thing that we should do. It's very simple. Give me a marker or something. Is there a marker around? Any markers around? No. Oh yeah, there is. Sorry. My bad. And for convenience sake, I'm going to hang it here, okay? Because since we are on that phase, you see this? There are 9 dots.
Yeah.
Can you see it? You can't see it?
No.
Okay. बड़ा कर देता हूँ ऐसे क्यों बोल रहा Each one of you guys got a notepad with you? Yeah? Make these 9 dots. Connect these 9 dots with 4 straight lines. You cannot lift your pen. You can cross a line, but you cannot have parallel lines. And I want you guys to do it independently. Are we clear? करके दिखाओ यार. Connect the 9 dots using 4 straight lines. You cannot lift your pen. You can cross a line, but you cannot have overlapping lines. Okay, if you've done it, then thank you. Don't tell anyone. Let them try it. You can cross a line, but you cannot
lift
overlap.
You can't overlap a line or lift your
You can't have parallel lines right, on the same distance. Parallel also, but not overlapping lines. Connect the 9 dots using 4 straight lines. You cannot lift your pen. You can cross a line, but you cannot have overlapping lines. I know. I think I saw it there.
We did this.
How is it going?
We did this as the first class of innovation and change. Yeah, sure. You're gonna give me your names.
You have a marker.
Uh, For introduction sake, you're going to give me your names and one word that defines your passion, just one word. And the entire session, when we do team activities, I'm going to call you by that word that you've chosen for yourself. So think about it, give me your name and that one word that you think your passion is related to. Thought about it?
Anybody got it? What time?
Thought about it? So,
So
your
the
name
biggest
is
problem I see is that most of
Your
you
name?
guys what you're trying you'll never get.
R-E-V-N-T, Raven.
R-E-V-A-N.
V-A-N-T.
What's your passion word?
About changing things, energy related. Right?
One word, buddy, one word. One word that defines your passion. Rajesh. And what's the word that defines your passion?
Curiosity.
Perfect. What's yours, Revan?
Change.
Okay. So I'm going to call you the entire session by the word change, and I'm going to call you by curiosity. So remember your passion. Oh, hi. Sorry, missed you. What's your name? One word that defines you. Your passion, sorry.
You are your passion. A life lived without passion is a useless life.
So, got a question.
No, seriously.
Oh, yeah.
What are your passions? Like you asked us.
Okay. Ajay, you want to tell yours?
यार मेरा बहुत ज़्यादा है यार.
एक बताओ.
एक बताओ.
एक बता दो.
My passion is people. I just love working with people, doing things with people, learning from people, helping people learn, doing things with people. I think human beings are very fascinating. I find all of us very fascinating. दिमाग कैसे चलता समझ नहीं आता.
Mine is innovation.
by inception.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay, nobody. यार आप बता दो यार इन लोग को. Come. We're going to use a chart paper.
No, but like, I read it from a book, so it basically has around 7 solutions. Like,
Multiple
वो
solutions.
depend करता है आप सोचते कैसे हो. जैसे एक solution है, I take a string, मैं यहाँ से करके घुमा के यहाँ से घुमा के ले आऊँगा. That's one solution. Like it's 3 lines. I take a string, or either you can do this. यहाँ से जाके you pierce the paper, पीछे से जाओ यहाँ से line बनाओ तो 3 लाइनों में हो रहा है. That's 2 solutions I know. There is one solution which involves like हम लोग बेसिकली क्या सोच रहे हैं आप ऐसे कर रहे होगे. एक सोल्यूशन है कि आप लाइन को बाहर ले जाओ पेपर से और फिर ऐसे करो. That's the
See why I said that all of you guys are not going on the track is because the solution within the 9 dots will not be found. You have to go
It's thinking out of the box.
So
Like
it
goes
basically
the
goes
box
like
goes.
this, comes like this, goes like this, and here. You have all the 9.
I was trying, but
This is how it happens.
like even वो solution भी सही है ना. Like you take a string.
इसका एक और अगर आप straight line ना करो तो आप S shape में जा सकते हो. Okay, want to try another one? Quick.
There is a square crossing and the
Multiple line. This one you guys got? How it happens? Straight out. Come down from this dot downwards, again out. Go straight up and then take an arrow out. Yeah? Okay, another quick one. So, I'm sorry, I'm going to use your sheets. We'll probably get more sheets.
वो तो कर लेंगे.
This is what you have. You can use one line. Using one line, give me a 6.
It's a cross and a line. It's 11 in Romans. You have to
You can use a line wherever you want. Using one line, give me a 6. Okay?
anything. Should make 6.
Legal and in the middle of the day.
This idea should not give you more than 30 seconds to do.
it crossed it.
Cross
Crossed it in between.
You all will, say
Right. S6.
I'm sorry, actually the line was supposed to be here. My bad.
ऐसा
Yeah, but it's just putting an S. Why are you thinking? I never said straight line this time.
So would
You
have
guys are
held-
still thinking straight
you would have
lines.
held the chart from that side also.
So the point is very simple, that you got to think differently. Yeah, it is SIX. Actually, that's the solution. I made it. It's 9 instead of 11. My
So,
bad.
all of you are aware of the recent app called Miolo. How many of you are aware of Miolo? So I have one of my very good friends is the founder. So what he did was he told me that simple thing कि यार जब मैं free होता हूँ मेरे दोस्त free नहीं होते हैं, जब मेरे दोस्त free होते हैं मैं free नहीं होता हूँ. But I still need to go out and meet people who have something similar to mine. So what he does is he's taken a house in Green Park, and you can just log in like Facebook, put in your common interests, and whoever has common interests, there are events, and you can just go and meet up, and he earns money out of it. So a simple thing like meeting up can turn into an idea. So what Ajay and I are basically trying to do with this activity is you need to really think out of the box. As I said, there's a way to grab that pen, you raise out your hand and grab the pen, and there are other ways that you can now think of to make it much more easier.
Okay, so tell me, all of you guys are going to be entrepreneurs. You're going to do something innovative. So what is innovation?
Go ahead, anybody. Take a
Sui patak sanata.
Something new.
What is something new?
Something which no one has ever thought.
Really?
And either improving on a particular idea.
Improving on a particular idea? Changing the world.
Changing the old thing.
Changing the whole thing.
Creating a need.
Creating a need.
Probably changing the way you think.
Changing the way you think. Okay. This side of the room is very quiet.
Disruptive change.
Disruptive innovation is different. There is sustaining innovation and disruptive innovation are two different types.
Doing the same thing in a different way.
Doing,
what exists.
sorry?
Optimizing what we have for best exists.
Optimizing is an operational excellence thing. It's not innovation.
Right? To optimize, you need to innovate, right?
No, not necessarily. If you look at Six Sigma, is it innovation? No. Improvise. You know, please remember, I think the biggest challenge nowadays is there is a colloquial use of this word innovative. Oh, what an innovative idea. It might not actually be innovative in itself. I think we have to remember innovation fundamentally comes from science. Right? There has to be a technological, scientific basis to it. Okay. And then the second thing is really that, so that's where the technology part comes in. What is possible with technology? The second most important thing is really what is desirable to the user. Is it going to make a difference to somebody or not? If it is not going to make a difference, please perish that idea right then and there. Right? And then the third part is that you'll make money out of it. If you can't make money out of it, please don't. There is no point in doing it. So if you use these three filters for whatever ideas that you're going to do, because you also don't want to go and do a Me Too thing, right? Please, again, I'm not saying don't do a Me Too thing, but ideally you don't want to do it, right? That way even Ola is a Me Too, right? Indigo with this beautiful infrastructure that they've created, I think it's very innovative what they've done in terms of creating it's again an issue about how you think. This is strategic thinking, but it's a Southwest model, right? You look at what Oyo is doing, copying the Airbnb models. Yeah. So I'm not discouraging you from there, but I want you to be very clear that when you talk about doing something innovative, there has to be a technology basis for it, a science basis for it. Second, the user must want it. Now tell me, what do you think is important? Customer needs or customer